Hello everyone, it's Peter. Today we will continue to talk about the Lambda function. Because this is a big topic, we will spend several sessions to cover this Lambda function and some related topics. So last time we finished this EMP Lambda, right? EMP Lambda. So there's a small issue we face at the end of the last class. That is, here we upload the git.txt file, and then it doesn't trigger the Lambda. It doesn't trigger the Lambda. The reason is, if you see the property, and we can add an event, right? In the event, if we can add, sorry, I deleted. Wrong one. So last time we created this event, the reason is I just do my event. I have a surface called the CSV, right? So it means only the CSV file can be triggered. If I upload a text file, it will not be triggered. So that's the reason. So last time I got a little bit stuck there. I didn't understand why it's not triggered, but then I go back. Here. I can delete this one. Delete. I need to permanently delete. Okay, just delete this one. But I can run it locally, right? So I can run it locally. Locally is already I trigger the Lambda and I can run it locally and get the correct result. Okay, now let's continue. I just need to explain the issues that we faced last time. Now, next I talk about the issues with Lambda function. What's the disadvantage of Lambda function? The Lambda function has a running the maximum running time, which is only 15 minutes. Right. Now, let's go back. So this is we have two for the training data. This is our data in training Lambda. You can see in the training Lambda we have two Lambda functions. Hello function, that's a simple one, and the employee file parser .zip. This means that if you write your Lambda function, you can also put it in a zip file and upload it to this folder. That's a different story. So we just use our Eclipse to upload our Lambda function. Now, next, let's go to the bucket. Let's duplicate this one. Let's search for Lambda. Okay. So let's go to the employee file parser. Now, in the parser, there's a configuration. Okay. In the configuration, the timeout is 15 seconds. This is by default. 15 seconds. That's a very short time. And if we can edit it, we can increase this time to up to the max timeout is 15 minutes. You see, you can see this line. So you cannot configure too much time. At most, it's 15 minutes. Okay. So just I want you to clarify this. This is the, if someone asks you what's the short disadvantage of or the pros and cons of the Lambda function, the cons is it has a time limit. So, for example, if we want to handle a big file, okay, go to this one. If I have I create another file, it's employee 2, employee 02. This is a big file. I have over 1,000 records here. So I want to save all of them into the DynamoDB, and 15 seconds is not enough. Maybe 15 minutes should be enough. But if I have more, so in my project, I face a big file which has like 2 gigabyte, not megabyte. 2 gigabyte is not a movie. You know, if you have a movie with 2 gigabyte, is very normal. But what I mean is the text file with 2 gigabytes with about 10 million records or 20 million records. That's a lot. That's huge. And I want to digest, or I want to ingest those files and save the records to DynamoDB. And then 50 minutes is not long enough. So of course, we use lots of strategies. We want to break the big file into small files and jump back. So here I just explained the strategy. So what can we do? What can we do? If we have a huge file to process to Lambda, processed by Lambda function. How to solve it? So this is actually is a big challenge. I just want to share my experience of the big file. So first, we can break it into small subfiles. We can break into some small subfiles. So if you have 2 GB, and the Lambda function will get this file and we'll read line by line, right? As in our code, we'll read line by line. And if you have like 10 million lines or 20 million lines, that's big. So maybe I can use the first like 1 million line as one subfile, and the second million line and third million line and so on. We may break into like 20, 30 subfiles. And second, we throw the subfiles back to the same bucket. Yeah. So I will throw the file back to the same bucket. So I will throw back the 20, 30 subfiles, and then the subfiles will trigger multiple Lambda functions to process. Okay. That's our strategy. Okay. And for the detailed part, so we face lots of technical difficulty and the code logic. We need to identify is this file a subfile or the normal file, right? So it may or may not be a big file. It could be a small file. We don't have to break into a subfile. It may be a big file. We can get subfile. So it means that the Lambda function needs to set a flag, or in the file we have to set a flag. Is this a normal file or is it a subfile? Okay. And the subfile, if it still take long time, we have to break it again. So we need to set we need to set a time alert in Lambda. For example, like 12 minutes. So we need anytime we need to calculate how many time when you start the processing the Lambda, we set up the time, right? And during some time we set up that time, and we see if the time gap is over 12 minutes or 30 minutes, we have to break into small files. So we have to evaluate how long will it take and break into and determine whether or not we need to break into small files. And then we use more Lambda functions to handle that. So it means that the one file to invoke a Lambda function, and this Lambda function will break to many small files and throw back to the bucket, and those small files or subfiles will trigger more Lambda functions to process. So the whole logic is very complicated. There are lots of difficulty, bottleneck, and we spend lots of time, almost 3-4 months, and finally we reach a very good result. Okay. So the key point is the Lambda function only has 15 minutes at most for running time. So if we want to use Lambda function to handle a big amount, a huge file, then Lambda function looks like it's not good enough. I hope you can understand my point. So this is a real working experience. So now, then in the next release, we will find an alternative solution to process the big file. So what's the solution? It is called AWS batch processing. Batch processing is like our, let me see. The batch processing is like the EMP services. The batch processing will be deployed to ECS. Okay, to ECS. I will create a Docker image, and I will deploy to ECS, and I will create a batch. And how to create a batch, that's a different story. I will do it later. But the difference between batch processing and the REST API, like EMP services, is EMP services is always running there, right? It's always running there. So its REST API is waiting for request, and they will send a response. So it will run 7/24, right? 24 hours, 7 days, all the time. And the EC, it will launch an EC2 instance, and this EC2 instance will be always running there. Even you stop it, it will launch another EC2 instance. And the last time we talked about the elastic IP address to fix the IP address and to associate this IP address with different EC2 instances. So if you don't know that, you go back to the previous videos. Now, next, for the batch is different. Batch is not a web application. Batch is purely core Java code. It's exactly like Lambda. It's like Lambda. But the batch, you can define the running time. You can define the timeout time. Okay? You can select 30 minutes as timeout, or 1 hour as timeout, or even 2 hours as timeout. It's up to you. This is batch. This is batch. So, and when you run a batch, it also invokes a EC2 instance. And after batch is finished, then the EC2 instance will be destroyed immediately. So you won't be charged. So we know the AWS will charge your EC2 running time. In your free tier, you have 750 hours of free running time for 1 month. But for the batch usually if you process a batch, at most like 1 or 2 hours, and then it will break the EC2 instance. It won't be charged that much time. Maybe you only need to be charged for only 2 hours. That's very, very cheap. It's not like all time running, right? Like EMP services, because they are different story. EMP services, you have to be running there as a API entry point, as a REST API. You have to handle different kind of requests. But batch is a backend job, so it has no interaction with client, right? It has no interaction with the client. You just give this batch a bucket name and a key, which is the bucket name file, and it will process the file. And after it's done, and the whole infrastructure will be destroyed by ECS automatically. You don't have to worry about that part. So I will demonstrate this for you. And then you can use all the features of Spring. It's core Java, but it's all use Spring, because core Java code cannot. It's hard to build a Docker image for purely core Java code, but it's easy to build image for the Spring Boot application. Right? So the batch is also a Spring Boot application, but it's not a web application. I want to clarify that. There are 2 types of Spring Boot application. You can build a Spring Boot application with non-web, or with a Spring Boot application with web. Okay, now let's do it, and then we will practice a batch, and you know what happens to the batch. Okay. Now let's create a new project. That's Maven project. Okay. So the group ID, I still use this one. It's the same one. I use a B1 EMPC batch. Okay. I use a batch. Okay. Now this batch, I want to copy everything from service, but I need to change something. Okay. So this is EMP services. I copy all of it as my batch. Let's see which one we need to keep, which one we need to drop. Yeah. So integration test is the same. So actually, we don't need any integration test, right? If you want to keep it. So it doesn't matter. And then the final name is EMP batch. I give this name, EMP batch. And this is the same. The JUnit 5. DynamoDB, yes, I need to connect to DynamoDB. Test is there. So here, the website is all gone, right? So the 3 dependencies are related to web, right? Web, DevTools, and Actuator. I don't need it. I don't need it. And what I need is, okay, so let's go to the common, let's go to the, let's say, yeah, let's go to the POM. Okay. The POM, there's a non-web, okay, just a starter, right? With starter. Yeah, this is only Spring, Spring Boot Starter, Spring Boot Starter. Yes, and this one is Spring Data DynamoDB. Okay, this is for DynamoDB. And I think what else do I need? And this name I make a change. This is a batch. This is a batch. Okay. Oh, I think I may need an S3. I need an S3 because I need to read data from the S3 bucket. So I already have DynamoDB, so I also need a S3. So I need AWS. So what's the dependency? Let's go to this one. This bypass. I think this one guy has a POM. I think this POM has yeah, yes, it's this one. This is AWS. Okay, so this one contains the S3 event. So this is DynamoDB. Then we add an AWS. So yeah, okay, let's save it. Okay. So don't worry about this red cross. You just right click, Maven, update project. Okay, and force update for the new version. And I think that's pretty enough for the dependencies, right? It's for the dependencies. This is Spring Boot, no web. This is no web. Okay. Save it. This demo. Let's say demo for AWS batch to process employee files. Okay, I just give a better name. So description is nothing. So just you can write anything. Okay. Okay. Now I think that's good. Now let's go ahead. So we can copy lots of code from EMP services. First is the backend code. So we don't need this one. We don't need this one. During the process, I don't write any testing. Right? So how to do the test? We already have a special session for the test part. So if you like, you can add all the tests for those for all the previous code. Okay, and the main new package. First, I build the emp.app. So we have app, we have config. Config. So we still need to add this config. Employee config. So what's that? Then this is entities. So we just keep it. So we need to add entities. Like emp.dynamodb.entity. So let's copy the entities. Use the same entity, and then let's have a DAO. dynamodb.DAO. For the DAO, I have this one. I copied two of them. But actually, I don't have to run all of them. So in this DAO, I only need to save. Let's change it. I don't have to do this because this is not a REST API. I only need one method is to save all with a list of entities. I only need this one. That's enough. And in the import, Okay. So I will remove all of them. All of them. I just add the table. For the table, I can go to the EMP Lambda with the DAO part. Just copy code. This one. Okay. This is table, and others I don't need it. I will remove all those things. So I can add a log the debug save all employees. If you like, you can override toString and get auto the list. Okay, I just let's see. Do we have the let's save it in the entity? Do we have toString method? Yes. If we have toString method, I can yes. Then go to entities. Okay, I can debug all the entities here. Let's save all. And for the service, I don't need a service. I just need to process it. Okay. Let me think. I still need a service. Okay, let's do a service part. The config part, we already configured the DynamoDB part, right? We already configured DynamoDB part, but we still need to configure S3 because we need to read data from S3. So let's go here. File parser. Let's see the config. So this is config, and yes, this is get S3 client. So we need to get S3 client. It's not like Lambda. Lambda we can use default, and but here we have to use this one. We add this one, and Amazon S3. This is SQS, so I can skip this one. I don't need SQS. Okay. This is DynamoDB, and this one is S3. Okay. This is S3. Yeah, in Lambda, is this build the default client and return Amazon S3? But here I use credential, okay, to do that. Okay, then now let's look good. And this is employee DAO. So I still need the service package and the model. Now let's new package. Service. So we have a new interface, employee service. So we can add a method, just a process. Just process. I have two things. One is the bucket, and the other is the file name. Is the file. Right? I want to process with the bucket and with the file. That's employee services. Okay. Now after that, new class employee service import. This is a little bit different. So I add employee services. Employee service. In this service I use add service as a stereotype. I need to auto while something. One is I need to auto while. I need to auto while the employee dot. em dot. That's one thing I need to auto while. The second thing is I need to auto while Amazon S3. S3 client. I just said S3 client. Yeah, after I get the Amazon S3, so the code will be copied from the Lambda. Let's go to the this handler. Actually, we need the bucket. And after we get the bucket, and I can say first is the S3 object. Okay. Let's do this step by step. This is S3. I just change the name S3 client.get object. This is the file. This bucket and file. That's the first step. After we get the response, and if this ends with, so this is the code. Okay, this is the code. I don't have to return anything. I just process it. Else, I just have some log. Okay. And then I need a path file and map to entity. Okay. I think I don't need to create an employee object. I just need to create an entity directly. Okay. Let's do this. So I have input stream, and this is list of employee entities. I don't have to map to employee, so list of employee. Entity. Here I think I already have some bad thing here. I just remove it. Let's say this entity is here, and you use the input stream, this one, and read line tokens, and then employee entity. Let's say entity equals to employee entity. So entity can set, this is set sk. Entity.set name, entity.set salary, and list.add entity. So then I return entity. So if there's an exception, return list. If I have exception, I just add log the error. Error in parsing file. Okay, parsing like this. Here I need to add a log for that. Let's go to this one. This one. Yeah. Here's the copy code. I change the class name to this one. So then I have log in parsing file. I just use this one. If there's any error, so this is parsing the input stream. So now let's talk about this file. So here I can add a log the info. Start processing file and the bucket. This is a file bucket. Then if it ends with CSV and we use input stream, here is that the log part I deleted. Employee entity. Employees is path file with input stream, and this one I use employee dot. I don't have to do mapping. Get instance, and there's no get instance, so I just use emp dot, right? This one. Save all. Here entities. This is entities. Okay. Then S3 client will delete this object, this file, and log. I just use this log. Log.debug. The file is deleted. Otherwise, I don't return anything. I just use log. error. Give the file. It's not a CSV file. Okay. Then I think this is pretty much about the services. Don't need this one. Yes. Okay. This is process. Okay. If I get bucket and file, I will process it. Okay. This is start processing file. Okay. Now finally I go to the app. Okay. So I will new a class of employee app. This app is a little bit different because this is not a Spring Boot web application. This is just a Java. We will run it from the command line with command line. So now let's do it. So let's go to this one. Let's go to file parser source. So this is app. So you can see this is implements command line runner. Okay, we have this one. Let me copy all this, and I just change the name. Yeah, let's run this code. I just changed the app to employee app. The config is employee config. I need employed, and then just import it. Okay. Now this is a log. Auto while is employee service. EMP service. Change it to this one. So anyway, we should have a main method. We always have a main method, but then we have a run. Okay, this is alright. So you implement the command line runner, you have run. Run, we can input arguments. The argument will be the bucket and the file. So if the argument length is less than 2, then log debug missing input parameters in command line. So it won't work, just return. So then the first one, the bucket name is 0, the file name is, so I need to change this line. So cut. Yeah. So this is processing bucket and file. Then I use EMP service to process bucket name and file name. Okay. Yeah. Then this one I can also save it. Yeah, that's pretty much about the batch. And I also forgot one thing is that I need application.yaml. New folder, resources. Now I copy from the EMP services, and I copy application YAML. Yeah. To make it look good, I close all. I can delete it and re-import it and give a good format of the source main. So let's import it. Now let's go to the batch. Okay. So here we have resources. Let's make a change of this one. So first we don't need server. Okay. So this one is gone. This one is gone. And the config. In this config, so be careful about this config. Okay. File parser. We need one important thing. That is, we need the main application type is none. I have to specify that. Okay. Main web application type is none. So this is the important one. As a batch, you cannot make it as a web application. and this is access key, secret key, and the log. So others is simple. Okay. The bucket name. So I will input as bucket name. So this is the log. The log. So we don't have ORM, so we can remove this one. We can have this. Let's say is the emp dot debug. Okay, this model. Now this is the application YAML. Okay. Now next I will input my credential and I will cut off some prior video and I will come back. Okay, I'm coming back. I already set up my credentials, so I can run it, and then I will tell you how to run it as local, and then how to build a Docker image, and I will build that process. Okay. Now, first I need a file under S3 bucket. I need a file. So then I go here and go to S3 and go to the data, and I need to upload. Add file. This one, go to the document. I still use the first one. Then I upload because I already removed the event. It won't trigger any event. Okay, so then this is the file. This is the file, and then I will give a name. Employees 01.csv, and then this is this one. So before that, I still need to do one thing. Is I go to the DynamoDB, remove all the records to make sure the record is not there. This table, employee table. Okay, and export the table items. Yeah, I remove the 3 records. Delete. Okay. Now let's come back to make sure this one can work locally. So how to run it? You cannot run as Java application. This is not good because you don't have a parameter. Yes, you can run it, but it will have an error if you run it. The first time looks something wrong. Oh, I think there's something else in this. Okay, so let's stop it. I think I wrong something else, right? So let's go to the console. Oh, because there's emp app too. Oh, I should change the name. Okay, because I already have employee app in your employee services. So let's rename it. Let's rename it employee batch app. Okay, let's use a different name. Okay, let's use different name. Employee batch app. So in the POM, if I make a Docker file, I need to change it as a emp batch. So the final name, yeah, it's emp batch. It's not emp services. Okay, I think that's good. That's fine. So let's run it again. If I run directly, the length is less than 2. Okay. Looks like it doesn't show anything. Let me run as I need to clean up something. Run configure. In the run configure, I have so many different things, so I need to remove things here. This is all the test. Just delete it. And this is all the. There's lots of employees, so then I just delete everything. So let's close and run it again. Yeah. Okay. It's coming back. So there are lots of if you in the Java application, it will be messed up. You can see if you run it directly, it's missing input parameters in command line. So that's the length lesson 2. How do I input the length? So I need to run as configuration. I need to run as configuration. And in this one, I go to the arguments. Let's see. Oh, it's not environment. So I think it's arguments. It's program arguments. I give 2 names. One is training data 1010. This is a bucket name. And another one is CSV. So that's the 2 arguments. Yeah, let's run it. Yeah, looks like the first time is not wrong. Let's stuck somewhere. Let's stop it and run it again. Run as configuration. So in arguments, you already have this configuration, then run it. Okay, it started running. Something wrong with this one. Failed to execute wrong. You can see it's already saved start processing file, processing bucket, so it's already good. Why the finally it has something wrong? Because it looks like it's already working. Yeah, 35 lines. This process, I think what's wrong with this process? Save all employees. Oh, okay, that's wrong. P cannot be null. Okay, then I have a bug here. Then go to the DAO. Go to the DAO. Go to the mapping. Go to the service. I think I missed one important thing. So when I pass this one, I need to have one more. Is entity. Entity dot set pk. I missed the pk. Employee entity dot default pk. Okay. Now let's run it again. Yeah. So when you say sorry and then after that when you save all and delete part, it's not working, so it's already go to the error part. So save all has an error. So let's go back. Let's clear this one. Let's go back. Run as config argument. So run. It's deleted. Okay. Now looks like the local is running good. And then let's refresh it. So it's gone. Let's go to the table. So yeah, it's saved. So up to now, so everything is working fine. So it's all good. So next, I will start to deploy this one to deploy this one as a Docker image and deploy to ECS to AWS batch. So next, I will talk about how to deploy this application to next batch to AWS batch. I will move to the next class. Thank you.